How will you ensure that the residents of Ward 21 have a voice in council decision-making processes? We'll go to Andrew on that one.
This is a thorny question to deal with. And my first inclination is Highland Council is very good at issuing consultations. In fact, all public bodies, it's not just a criticism of Highland Council, are very good at issuing consultations. And in a way, they've already decided the result of that consultation before anyone's actually responded to it. And in a way, we as a society have been consulted out. And I know that there's enormous frustration within Le Carbe that what's the point of responding to another consultation when the outcome is predetermined? So I'd like to see genuine use of the citizens panel, which was set up many, many years ago, to provide data for councillors to base their decisions. Too often, citizens panel will say one thing, and the options presented by officers are the complete opposite of what the citizens panel have suggested. Now, I understand the realities of budgets and policy making, but actually more recognition of what people are saying in the first place would be helpful. I'd like to actually see a return to ward forums. I don't know how many of you can remember the ward forums that were held here in Le Carbe, but they fell by the wayside actually shortly after I was elected in 2012, because there was an element of councillors and my fellow colleagues that didn't want them because they felt that it was them just being attacked month after month when they attended them. Well, their attitude was wrong because they sat there defensively from the outset rather than trying to have a constructive discussion. So I would like to see that. I would also like to see the Le Carbe committee not just meeting in Fort William. It's the Le Carbe committee. Take it so that it meets in Strontian or Kinlochleven or in Ballachulish Village Hall. Now, officers will say, oh, it's too expensive to do that and the setup. Well, bringing democracy down to a local level does come with costs. And I think it would be beneficial if the area committee didn't always meet in the Charles Kennedy building in Fort William. And I also think that it would be productive to have a councillor question time at the end of those Le Carbe committee meetings. It was something that I proposed when I was the previous chairman of that committee, but was outvoted by my colleagues at the time. I think that would be a useful way of engaging and listening and helping Le Carbe residents take a more direct role in our decision-making process.
That's great. Thank you, Andrew. We'll go to Rebecca.
My pledge is to listen and to work directly with communities and come up with plans that take into account the needs of all. I think Andrew's right about ward forums, but I think we also need to talk to people on, give people an opportunity to speak to us on a one-to-one or a small scale and informal basis. I think things like local surgeries are really important so that people can come and see you in a smaller setting. I also am very conscious of the fact that perhaps many of the conversations I've had over the last few weeks would not have happened if I had surgeries in local villages of Loch Arbor, Ardnamurch and Morven. And that actually one of the key things is being present in the communities and walking through communities and knocking on doors, giving people the opportunity to tell you their views. So I'm not going to offer you a trite soundbite just here. I would want to work with communities in the formal sense, in community councils, but also offer people informal ways of approaching councillors and giving them an opportunity to have a voice and take part in that decision-making process. I think it's also important to talk to stakeholder groups and to find out the different issues from them as well. I think I've found out so much from talking to people like Akintor Regeneration Group, Loch Arbor Hope, about the issues that are happening throughout the area. And I think it's really important that we give everybody opportunities to feed into a process, and listen in a variety of different ways, because not everybody wants to talk in that kind of formal big setting. So.
Thank you, Rebecca. Nathan.
Yeah, I think this is actually a really major issue. It definitely has to be thingy, because I think there is a lot of despondency within communities, and I think a lot of people feel that, you know, government as a whole has sort of just bypassed them. So I think this is something that really does need, it should be really, really considered and thought about, and there really should be solutions for this. Obviously, yeah, on a personal level, much so same as the others, you know, the thing you want to do is to be present. You want to enable that people can speak to you and approach you, talk to you. And I 100% understand what Rebecca's saying by providing alternatives in different ways. Not everyone's comfortable speaking in a large group setting. Not everyone wants to stand up and be, surrounded by people or watching them as they discuss what their problems are or what they're concerned about. And I think that, actually it's a really important thing to encourage as much of that as possible, because at the end of the day, any councillor is one person, they are not, and so you're not going to see everything, you're not going to notice everything. And so I think it's something that should be massively encouraged, community to be involved in these projects. I'm not entirely sure the way it would be done. So I think, yes, forums are a good idea. I think community councils, I think being as active and present as you can be, and it should be something that is strongly encouraged. And any sort of policies that would make that easier should be, advocated for by the councillors. And I think we just need to remember that, at the end of the day, government is supposed to serve the people, not the other way around. And I think that if we go forward with that mindset and we work as hard as we can to ensure that people are heard and that we do everything we can to make sure that we are present to people, I think you'll have a much better relationship, both within problem solving, because there is a lot of people with very good ideas and very good solutions, and also people feel heard. And I feel that's a very important thing. People want to feel like there's a reason they've have a council, they have, these things. So yeah, I think it's a very important thing. And personally, I say on a personal level, it would be going out into the community as much as I can and advocating in any other forums, so any policies, any procedures, advocating and pushing for anything that would make that easier and make that more accessible for everyone.
That's great. Thanks, Nathan. Go to Susan.
I think this isn't a thing you can solve easily. And I think Andrew was talking about everyone being very weary of the endless consultations, but those consultations were a genuine attempt at letting people have their voice about policy and legislation before it took place. And it's just, I think it's impossible for it not to become kind of routinized, and then people do just go, oh yeah, another consultation. I mean, I feel the same myself. And I think the key thing is what Rebecca is saying, is to actually get it down to people speaking to each other face to face, because I think that's when people start really saying what they really mean. And so I think she's right about making it possible to have surgeries, but also just even more informal discussions than that, just being around when things are happening and chatting to people. I think there's not a magic solution, and that doesn't mean that I don't think we should do the consultations. I think it'd be awful if the government stopped making that attempt. That's my